Hey Robo-Buddies! So today I want to talk to you guys about the book Delirium by Lauren Oliver. Elle Fowler here on YouTube actually recommended this book to her viewers, and I really trust her book recommendations because she has the same taste in reading as I do. So basically, Delirium is about this society which views love as a disease that everyone needs to be cured from. And they have all of these different reasons and books and quotes about why love is a bad thing, about how it messes with your eating habits and your sleep habits and makes you anxious and leads to a lot of other health problems. Everyone in this society is forced to get this procedure when they're 18 on their brain to remove the ability to love. And so everyone is convinced that this procedure is a wonderful thing because it keeps society healthy and fully functioning. The suicide rate is down, the divorce rate is down. It seems like an ideal society. Our main character, Lena, she's so excited because her procedure is 3 months away and she can't wait because she's so scared of falling in love and contracting this disease. Her mother actually committed suicide because of love, because she didn't have the procedure done. Well, technically she did have the procedure done. She had it done 3 times and was going on a 4th time, and it just wasn't working on her. So Lena's petrified because she saw what happened to her mom, how it drove her insane and how she committed suicide, and she doesn't want that to happen to her. But 3 months before her procedure, she meets this guy named Alex, who at first she thinks it's safe. He has these 3 marks on his neck which form a triangle, which signifies that you've already had the procedure, that you're safe, that you're unable to fall in love. So she's like, oh, it's okay, he's cured, I can hang out with him. But as she's hanging out with him, she really finds herself starting to be drawn to him, and she finds herself falling in love with him, and she's like, no, I can't do this. I can't have this happen to me. She doesn't want to end up like her mom. She wants this procedure. But then she discovers later in the book that Alex actually isn't cured, that he lives in the wild, and that he's a part of the society, pretending to be a part, so that he can actually save people and stop this whole procedure from happening, because he doesn't agree with it. He thinks that the ability to love is a very beneficial thing, and Lena isn't falling for it. She's like, no, love is bad, can't do it, can't break the rules. And I actually really like Lena's character at first in this book because she isn't the standard, Katniss kind of character or Triss kind of character. She's not that headstrong, brave kind of girl. She's awkward and clumsy and goofy, and I can definitely relate to that aspect of her character. She says things that you're just like, why did you say that? Because in the movies it's always so suave and sophisticated, and here the guy says, do you want to dance? And she's like, no, I'm not going to! Actually, I want to share a story with you guys about how much I can relate to Lena's character. I remember back in my first year of college, I had this crush on this guy who I named the cute indie kid, and I just thought he was super awesome because he matched all of the qualities that I thought I liked in guys, the curly hair and the glasses and the indie kind of look, which I think is totally lame now, but back then I was just like, oh, he's so cute. And I remember one day I was like, I'm going to talk to him, I am. And so I pointed to his shoes and I was like, I like your shoes. And he's like, yeah, they're plaid. And I said, I like plaid, it's pretty rad. Ooh, that rhymes! And I was just like, oh my goodness, because he gave me this look like, yeah, it does rhyme. And it reminded me of the movie Never Been Kissed, because in that movie, Drew Barrymore's character, she meets this cute guy in her class whose name is coincidentally Guy, and he says, hi, I'm Guy. And she says, yes, you are a guy, quite a guy. Oh my. And then she goes, oh, that rhymes. And then she realizes how dumb that sounded, so she goes, yikes. And then she goes, bikes! Ha 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 ha! Rhyming and trying to compensate for the fact that she just made a total fool of herself. And that is actually a lot like my personality. I do something really weird, and then I try to compensate for it by making it more exaggerated and goofy, but it just ends up turning out really, really weird. My boyfriend and I like to joke around about how I can act like a dinosaur and a spazzy 5-year-old, because when I get awkward or nervous, I tend to be like, meh! And I also make these weird, meh! noises, and I flap my arms around, and I get really spazzy and hyper, and that is kind of like how Lena is in this book. She's very nervous and very scared and doesn't want to break the rules, and she does things that are just like, what are you doing? It's just weird that she says this kind of stuff, and I was cringing as I was reading about her character because it's just like, oh, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And so, if you want a character who is real, this is definitely a good book to go for. But some words of warning about this book. It's different from The Hunger Games or Divergent in that it lacks a huge element of violence. But because this is a book about love, there's a lot of romantic elements in this book. As I was reading this book, I was actually considering considering not making a book review on it, because I was like, I don't know if this is necessarily appropriate to recommend to you guys, you know, because I know a lot of you guys are middle schoolers and high schoolers, and I don't want to recommend this book and have you guys read it and be like, ah! You know, I just did the spazzy dinosaur thing. But I don't want to recommend this book to you guys and have you see all of these cuss words, because there's a ton of cuss words in this book, which I don't agree with. And there's a lot more romantic-y stuff in this book, which I also think is rather awkward to read, and I don't want you guys to go out and read this book and then be totally disturbed that I'm recommending this to you. If you choose to read this book, read with caution. Parents, if you want to find a good book for your kids, read this first, and then maybe have some sort of a discussion with them about romance and things like that. There's no sex in this book, but there is one part in particular that you'll know when you read it that I was just like, I don't know if I want to recommend this book to you guys. So it's definitely edgier with the cussing and with the romantic-y stuff, but it does have a lot of really interesting points to it. For example, you know, just about how they consider love to be a disease, and how they take very simple things that you think you may have remembered from some point in time, like children's nursery rhymes, for example. They tweak it to make it seem like love is bad. Or even Bible things. They say Psalms at one point, and even though they're not in the Bible, it makes you think, oh, if that's in the Bible, then that must be true. That's kind of how cults get formed, actually. I read that in my devotional the other day. They take the truth, the Bible, the Word of God, and they take little bits and pieces of it and tweak it to make you start to doubt and think, hey, I didn't know it said that, you know, and you're like, oh, I guess it must be true. And you start to, all these things, it's essentially like brainwashing you, and you're not even aware of it anymore. You just automatically think, oh, because they're saying this, it must be right. That's kind of like what this book is. It takes pieces of the truth and tweaks it to the point where you don't even know what's truth and what's false anymore. And so I think that can definitely lead to great discussion between parents and kids. If you're nervous about giving this book to your kids, that might be a good way to discuss it. Also with the romance, that might be a good thing to discuss with your kids as well. And even with the cussing, because I'm going to be a teacher, and because I used to lead a middle school girls book club, anytime I read books, I look at them from the perspective of, can I teach about this? Can I discuss this with students? What are some kind of questions that I can use? And so this book definitely has potential for discussion. I don't agree with everything that's in it, but it is definitely an interesting concept. And again, it's one of those dystopian books that I enjoy so much. Elle Fowler actually said at the end of her video about Delirium that she hated the ending, and so I was expecting something to happen with the ending, and I had my mind pretty set on what it was going to be, and then it didn't happen. Something else happens, and I was like, what? No! So, I mean, I definitely need to go get Pandemonium to see what happens. It's a trilogy. Book 3 isn't out yet, I don't believe. Not sure on that. I don't think it's out. Have you guys read this book, and what did you think about it? And also, if you have any other sort of book recommendations about young adult dystopian fiction books, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you all very soon. Ciao.